After Robert handing over the sword, that which he uses as a panga, Nyongeza took it and smiled. He laughed. Ha ha ha! Your wish is my command. Are you going to skin somebody today? Nyongeza laughed as he left his toothless gums wide open for a while, gasped for some air before he could come. He was the type of man who would love to cry, but also irritated. He would cry to laugh. With something in his hand, he would let it pass by your throat, chop off your head, and lead you to the ground, a bleeding bull. I must carry something for myself, some protection for me, If someone meddled with my life, I'll skin 6 of them. Haven't you heard of the war in the slopes of Mount Elgon? Yesterday's Cheptay's market will set ablaze. The whole of Chepkube, Sirisha, Kapsu, and Chepyuk, all the villages of that place, are now in no-go zone. The Ndorobos are terrible, my friend, I tell you. Can you imagine? You've lived with them as your neighbor for some years, but now that he has seen something good in your possession, let's say, for example, your good wife has fattened and admired, he turns up overnight to murder you, chop off your head completely and take over your wife. Man, these Dorobos are terrible. They are fighting our men out there for the so-called land dispute. Robert continued to make an explanation on what had transpired up in the slope of the mountain, war that erupted up and broke the prevalent peace between the two neighbor communities that had lived for centuries together. Such is a stupid man. Why should you kill your friend for a woman? If it were me, I would just make use of that woman and dump her. After all, she won't get finished. She will remain the same, equal, sized even for her man again and again. She will be there for whatever you need. Again, she will be available. Women are like snakes, Once a snake's skin becomes old and weary, she just renews herself and another develops. Meet a woman once she pops out of a shower. Once she has washed herself and applied makeups, she looks awesome, very sweet, and smells fresh. With the new looks for a happy toddler, you'll observe a young woman before you. As much as she's aging like our grandmother, you'll want to take her out for a ride again. Age is just but a number. With her renewed soft skin, tender and fresh like that of my daughter Naliaka, definitely some appetite must develop. Sometimes I wonder when Naliaka finds her oils that she applies to make her that beauty. Nyongesa exclaimed. Imagine, Robert embarked on his narration. We have lived with them for years, intermarried and gave birth to many young ones. But right now, they are fighting our blood. They are killing our Bukusu men and women, mercilessly with no feelings of human, just because they want to repossess their land and anything. They scare off all the foreigners settled in that place. They claim that place to be their ancestral homeland and that the Bukusu, the Iteso, and the Bakanda people ought to forget immediately. This man, Matakwe, their leader, he's a deadly man. You cannot find out his hideout, but he keeps sending out atrocities to the villagers. He has burned houses, killed animals, butchered people of other tribes. He led the Sabot land defense unit. And those guys have carried animosities in that region. How do I feel for my sister? How do I feel for them actually who still live in that region? Where would they go after they have developed for a long time? But here comes the person who has been your friend for years. You can no longer trust him, your neighbor. You can't trust him. Talk of the Malakizi market, where all stranger people have been living. Right now, you cannot tell the person next to you is an angel or a devil ready to kill you overnight. That place has become strange. with all the blacks and the brown, the fat and thin, the Iteso, the Bukus and the Sabot, all of them mixed up. How will you tell the person next to you is a friend? You must live in fear, because daytime is a friend. Come overnight, a monster will knock by your door, ready to chop off your head. You can't tell a person seated to you with you is a friend, an enemy, or a traitor. Robert has actually explained himself what has been transpired in the mountain, in the Elgon region. Nyongeza also spoke of something. Hey, can you imagine? Malakis Market, that's where my sister is married to. She hooked up with it and Oropo and said as many children as they are. I guess right now they are 10. Will they work on her and abandon the children? Their blood? The kids. Or they will finish them all. She has given them enough boys and girls. Nyongesa became worried of her sister married to that Farland. She survived the tribalistic war, the massacre also that has been taking place, or she'll come out alive and survive. Aha! Don't you know women are just friends? We've always believed children are born from our blood. But as for women, they're just friends to make us propagate our seed. Robert came over to explain facts of our all men believes that women are never our blood. They're just but friends to give birth. Nyongesa said, let's pray that we'll cover her with the blood, some protection to her. Anyway, I must be on my way. You must be on your way. Let me finish your let me finish your 12 quickly. Robert also thanked as he took off. He was on his way to the Malakis forest. There happened to be enough indigenous trees. He will get some guma trees for free. Robert sobered his mind with hopes that his trip will be successful. Let's continue with the story again. Chemtai, our youngest mother now, arrived home. She carried a basket of flour that she delicately balanced by her head. She came from the posh mill, very late for an ordinary, responsible woman to behave and arrive home late. Maybe she passed by somewhere and got off time. Can you imagine? Ever since she left very early in the morning, she came back as late as 6 in the evening. Missed her duty to prepare my father's lunch. Perhaps she passed by Mama Bima. Mama Bima is, in our language, the place where they brew something. So she took something a little to sober up her mind, but forgot herself to make time. Someone also found her on her way and took advantage of her situation. He looked around, left, right, and noticed nobody at the vicinity. Therefore, he abducted her and dumped her to some place right inside the bush to work on what he always fancied doing, undressed her and performed the black magic ritual. He was done and dumped her. Omoding, as he called himself, had already taken his share for the day. He had actually lured the Mama Bajuk, as he referred to Chemtai, so to some bush there inside the Sendau forest and performed his duty. With a very slight push, he won the last tackled match and immediately laid on her. In fact, she was also willing and she had longed for somebody. She also wanted somebody also. Mama Ambilianga had just finished her Mukanda. Mukanda is a merry-go-round meeting for our women in the village. And she was on her way home. But something funny attracted attention. Her husband's clothes littered over by the roadside. Near such a thick bush, a man might have been abducted or even murdered. Clothes lay scattered all over down on the ground. That was strange. He must be in trouble. Terrible. She shivered actually. She thought of somebody and clothed his husband and dragged him into the bush. She actually began the search, tiptoed and followed the footsteps very slowly and smoothly, at times calculated as footsteps like a chameleon. She found out the exact place for the crime scene. Sweet sound of the duo as their pleasure roamed the silent forest, babbled like an idiot, omoding engulfed the sweetness. He was at it again. Just the other day, she had found him back naked. Today, he again, committing the same adulterous crime. This became more but uncountable occasion found red-handed doing the same, slept with other people's wife. He had committed himself to fill up the love triangle that had formed in the village. Slept with the women as I slept with your wife, and the love triangle continued. She had lamented and cried and complained, but all her words fell on deaf ears. Very often she had found her husband with that very cheap and useless woman, chat, confessed, and sweet memories of the previous episode. What attracted his husband to such a woman became a riddle, just to engage himself for uncouth and barbaric behavior, like a bachelor with no woman at home to cool his nerves. Wambilanga was just middle-aged and she had failed herself for the man. Omoding left his wife and slept with Jemtai. This must be the last time, she talked to herself. After resorting to an alternative resolution, if advice, lamentation, and cries will not deter him to think upright, something else had to be administered. Report the matter at the police station and find some help from the police officers. Kibiegon, a newly recruited administrative officer, came charged, armed and well prepared to handle with a dangerous man. After being tipped to be careful, he was going to deal with such a stubborn fellow. Women are so tricky. She had actually told Kibiegon of her husband to be such a very stubborn and dangerous man in the society. So Omoding, Shackle told him that Omoding owned an arrow and would kill anyone enter to his homestead. He notified Koplo Kibiegon to be careful. Therefore, Koplo, at the count of 3, he demanded that Omoding opens up the door, lest he shoot and blow his head off. Omoding was such a stubborn man to be threatened. He refuted and got hold of his weapon in defense of any wrestle. At the count of 3, Kibiegon pulled off the trick, and he let the bullet off through the nozzle, through the wooden door, through the Omoding's head, and came back through backhead. Finished. He had solved the problem called for. Omoding laid on the floor, a dead man. Wambilianga, unprepared for such eventualities, saw his husband on the floor, fully covered with blood. She broke into cries. "Oh, yeah, Koye, you have killed my husband." What did you expect me to do? Joke around with a stubborn man? What help did you inquire from us, the police officers? Didn't you want us to sort your problems? Kapla Kibiegon retorted. Such were the days our police officers knew how to handle fire guns and believed to solve everything by the fire nose. Since when did domestic violence begin to be solved by the nozzles of our guns? That became my big question, knocked my mind as I participated for the burial of our neighbor Omoding. What crime did Omoding commit to deserve such harsh and cruel treatment? Was he a crook, a thug, a robber, or any kind of a thief to be handled in the hands of officers? That called for a refresher course. And educate our police officers perhaps raise their standards, raise their power into professionalism in their duty. Let them engage their services with the super and proper adherence to the laws as they observed kindness for the human dignity. Since when did domestic